Call the meeting to order. On behalf of the board, I would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on today is the traditional territory of the many First Nations, including the Chippewas of Georgina Island and the Mississaugas of the Credit. These lands are now home to many diverse Indigenous people. We also acknowledge that York Region falls under Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit and the Williams Treaties with several Mississauga Chippewas First Nations. Disclosure of interest. Any disclosure of interest? Please note there's no disclosure of interest. A confirmation of public minutes of May 17th, 2022 board meeting. We have a mover. Thank you, Mayor Pellegrini. Thank you, Jennifer. Any opposition? Motion carries. Confirmation of public minutes of June 1st, 2022, special meeting of the board. Steve, would you like to move that, Steve Renat? Thank you. Chair, would you like to second that? Thank you.
I wasn't at the meeting, Mauricio.
Oh, so sorry about that. Walter, you were at the meeting. Thank you. Thanks for raising that, Chair. Any opposition? Motion carries. Presentations, we have none. Deputations, we have none. We have communications 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. If there's any discussion on these, if not, I'll ask a motion to receive the correspondence and have a seconder for each item. Chair Emerson, thank you. Seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. Any opposition? Motion carries. 8.2. Chair Emerson, would you like to move that as well? Seconded by Jennifer. Any opposition? Motion carries. And 8.3. Walter, would you like to move that? Thank you so much. Steve, would you like to second that? Steve Renat. Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. Consideration and adoption of reports. Mafalda, which items have we decided we're going to pull? And then, of course, I'm going to go to the board and ask which items they would like pulled. Jennifer, any items you'd like pulled?
Thank you. I would like to discuss 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, and 9.7, please.
And 9.7. Okay. Anyone else? Any other item that you would like to pull? Mafalda, did you want to pull an item on the, was it 9.8 that you wanted?
The annual report, I think, would be.
The annual report is already pulled.
Okay, that was the only other one. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, then I'll need a motion to approve all the other items. Would like to, Steve, Mayor Pellegrini, thank you. Steve Renat, thank you. All those in favor? Against, motion carries. Okay, let's go in order here. We'll go from 9.1. Jennifer, you called this item on the audit of 2021 financial statements. Go ahead.
Thank you. If Jeff can just explain the two adjustment, please. I think the revenue side relatively easy. The other accounting board adjustment is just, I don't recall I've seen it in previous years. So if you can add a bit color of this is one time and the context of the adjustment, that would be great. Thank you.
You're muted. Jeff, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My apologies and good morning. Through you, Chair, to the board. Yeah, so there are the adjustments listed, the non-budgeted PSAB charges in Table 1. This is an item that has been shown on the audited financial statements really for about 6 or 7 years now. It relates back to the public sector's implementation of amortization into its accounting structure. And during that time, this was in 2008 through 2010. During that time, municipalities had a choice on how to display the non-budgeted PSAB charges. York Region took a position that it would be reporting them separately, and we've followed York Region in providing a table to disclose what those costs are. They're non-budgeted, so that's why we do them annually, just for disclosure purposes to the public. But outside of that, it's not an unusual item. The revenue adjustment, I might as well touch base on that. That is an unusual adjustment. Working in partnership with our controllership office, they had identified to us 1.467500 for prior period grant adjustments, historical provincial grants. And this is revenue that we brought in between 1998 through 2019. In discussions with the controllership office, we talked about a little bit about the last time we did a prior period adjustment. So this was back in 2019. At that time, we had, I think the example at that time was a 2014 OMERS entry. And the advice that we received was to exclude it from reporting, noting it within the report, but excluding it for current year purposes. And the advice that we received here for the 2021 adjustment was to include it, which is why you're seeing it now in front of you the way it's displayed. I'm available for if there are any other questions.
Just to clarify, the accounting adjustment is every year?
Yes, that's correct, Ms. Fang.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fang, would you like to move that the board receive this report for information?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Pellegrini, would you like to second that? Thank you so much. Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll now move to the item 2023 operating capital budget direction. That's item number 9.2, and I think it was Jennifer that called it. Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, for this one, I think it's important information. Perhaps the chief or Jeff, you could just give an overview of the directions and any major considerations that the board and the public should be aware of, please.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just start by saying thank you, Ms. Fang. Yes, this is a high-level overview of the direction that's come from the region, and really it relates to the timelines for us and for the board to be aware of and agree to those timelines. So Jeff, perhaps I'll turn it over to you to speak to the specifics of that timeline and where we are and how we're prepared and moving through it right now.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate the chance to speak to this item. Thank you, Ms. Fang, and to the board. So this report replaces budget allocations, or previously called preliminary planning allocations. You used to get a report directly from the treasurer. This report now serves a public purpose of reporting in for disclosure purposes around some budget planning with York Region. So this is around communication about setting dates and setting targets. So on the date side, Acting Treasurer Kelly Struby, she wrote to Council last month in May. Council approved budget directions to the Acting Treasurer, and it included approval tentatively in February of 2023. That's a little bit longer than a normal budget cycle due to the municipal election. And it did include a section asking for the Police Services Board approval by November. That is normal timing for YRP, and that really produces sort of a normal schedule from our perspective, providing the discussion to the board. I think the only difference this year is that the board's October meeting is delayed by a week, and I think we're into the first early November is when that meeting actually happens on the 9th. So that's the tentative approval date. So from a timelines perspective, that will meet the acting treasurers, or Treasurer Marbella is now back. That will meet those requirements. As far as the numbers that have been provided, we participate every 4 years in a fiscal impact study, and the treasurer has an economics team. We have close collaboration and make a number of submissions to the team explaining much of what we talk to you about in our annual budget process around workload, around crime trends, around some of our cost drivers, social impacts, those sort of matters. And as we're communicating those with York Region, typically they do come back and challenge us a little bit with budget estimates that aren't always as fulsome as we would like. This year does have some challenges, but we do anticipate on meeting the first year of the 4-year plan. We are actually given a plan for all 4 years, as well as capital funding. So again, I'll look forward to explaining those in more detail during the fall budget deliberations. And I'm available to answer any of the questions that you might have on this report.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. Any other questions? If not, Chair, would you like to endorse the proposed timeline for development and approval of the 2023 operating and capital budgets as outlined in Table 1? That's item number 9.2. Chair Emerson, thank you. Steve, Rana, thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. The next item is 9.3, direct purchase of conducted energy weapons. Jennifer, you called that as well.
Thank you. For this one, I just would like to understand or clarify a few items. The supplier Axon being named as the sole source. I'm wondering what that means. Does that mean they are the only supplier capable of providing this equipment, and or it means there's no bidding process? And then in terms of the 75 months, that seem to be a bit long, but for very good reason, I'm sure. So with all that consideration, there's the increase of 7.5%. Is that total increase or year over year increase also at that level? And if this is a sole source supplier, do we have any consideration on the pricing side?
Chief, would you?
Yeah, go ahead, Paula. You can start, but I will say, Ms. Fang, on the in terms of the T7 device itself, I will add that in terms of why Axon is the only supplier that can supply a taser that is a full subscription model. So in terms of why them, they are the only supplier that can supply that, and it is fully integrated with our digital evidence management system. So that's definitely a consideration as well. And Paulo, for the other couple of comments there, I'll turn it over to you, and whether Chi or Superintendent McCloskey needs to weigh in here.
Through you, and thank you, Chief, and through you, Chair Bevilacqua, in relation to the increase, it's 7.5% increase for the total value of the contract, Ms. Fang. So it is that's distributed for the entire amount. And in relation to ensuring best value for the actual purchase, Axon has provided obviously discounted pricing, as they are the distributor of both the Taser 7 and consumables. We do and have purchased tasers from MD Charlton, but they are not capable of providing us the subscription-based purchase, as Axon is the only company that can actually afford that to us. So from a consumable perspective, to ensure price, fixed base price on these pieces for the next 5 years, they are the only ones that can offer that to us. And we do have an insured best value for the purchase. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, thank you. And can you please explain the subscription model a little bit versus regular purchase?
Yeah, and for that, I will turn it over to Inspector Chi Bat, who's on the call and who's been dealing with Axon, to give you the details of those pieces. Chi?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Chair. The subscription model would be different than what, I guess for lack of a better term, the a la carte model, where you would buy the device up front, and then year upon year, you would purchase the consumables. And by consumables, what I mean are the cartridges that we use for training, as well as for operational use. So every year we would then go back and estimate what we would need to train our members and for operational use, and then purchase them all year after year. With that model, we are at somewhat of a risk with respect to inflationary costs. With the subscription model, we effectively pay a monthly fee per device and user, and by virtue of that, we are locking in a price and we are getting all the consumables locked in for the term of the contract. So effectively that's the biggest difference there. On the subscription model, you pay that one fee, you get the device, you get the consumables, and in addition, you get additional added value with things like extended warranty, et cetera. So it's essentially you pay a fee and you get a full package deal with that. And that's why the subscription model is proposed.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for everybody. Any other questions? If not, Mr. Purchell, do you mind moving this? And Ms. Spank, would you like to second that? Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. We now move to the annual report. That's 2021 York Regional Police Annual Report, item 9.7. And who would like to speak to that?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I just wanted to, I have a little something here prepared, just that on behalf of our entire executive command team, pleased to present to the board the York Regional Police 2021 Annual Report. As you're aware, throughout the year, last year, we celebrated our 50th anniversary. We've included a spread on that milestone in this year's report, which includes information about the creation of the York Regional Police 50 Years of Excellent Policing book, which I'll comment on a little bit later, filled with historical images of our members and equipment spanning over 5 decades. Our commitment to police through the lens of human rights continued in 2021 with the striking of a community consultative roundtable to address anti-Black racism, providing specialized training to combat anti-Asian racism and the ongoing improvements to our inclusion strategy to ensure we're on the right track and becoming more inclusive both in the community and within YRP. Significant operational successes are all obviously highlighted in the book as well, including our ongoing fight to thwart the scourge of organized crime by dismantling of an international drug trafficking enterprise in Project Cheetah, taking down a high-end vehicle theft ring in Project Majestic, and keeping the heat on organized street racers and stunt drivers in Project Takeover. And happy to say that Inspector Chibat and Staff Sergeant Andy Graham received an OACP award last week for that project. Improvements in technology in 2021 included the launch of the Community Safety Data Portal, as well as Spider Tech, a software program that sends customized text or email messages to citizens about their calls for service to ensure they're satisfied with the service, and we obviously get that feedback on a regular basis. It also includes, as it always does, 2020 stats, including the cost of policing, the number of selected violations, public complaints, youth crime stats, as well as other 2021 business plan goals. So I want to thank the board, as always, and regional municipal councils for their ongoing support and for providing the resources needed to ensure our community remains inclusive, welcoming, and safe for all residents. And we are meeting the deadline for the ministry with this report, and a hard copy of that report will be sent to all municipal councils as well as the region. So even though it is provided in electronic form. So those are my comments, Chair, subject to any questions or comments from the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief. And that's an excellent report. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank you and your team for really doing us proud here in York Region. I get the chance to speak to many people about the work that your team is doing, and there are a lot of stories to be told, a lot of achievements, and I also want to congratulate the recipients of the awards, because it just shows the excellence that we demonstrate day in and day out here in York Region. Mr. Purchell, would you like to move receipt of the report for information? Yes, Mr. Purchell, seconded by Ms. Fang. Any opposition? Oh, you have a question, Ms. Fang? Sorry about that. Let's get to the question first, and Mr. Purchell, you're still going to move that right after Ms. Fang asks the question.
I am indeed, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second or move it. I don't have a question. I actually have some quick comments.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations to Jim and the team for the wonderful work and the report. And this is just some of my observations. I think the team, the board, and the executive team will be working on strategic planning, which will include the review of the vision, mission, and all these wonderful statements. On the mission side, I'm just thinking right now we say we want people to feel safe and secure. And I'm wondering, maybe we have safe, which includes secure, and then the secure, we might replace it with words like inclusive or something like that, just to reflect the your focus on diversity, inclusion, and equity. So these are, and then another observation, I think it's we have a wonderful program, the Vulnerable Person Registry, and I think we could do more to promote or increase the awareness of such a wonderful initiative. I actually, when I read this and I noticed this first time myself, I thought I should know better. So it's a great initiative. And I think I also, also in the chair's message, Mauricio's message, talking about the EDI again, and I think a lot of the board members have been certified with the inclusion and diversity training. That's worth of mentioning. And then my the only question I have is at the statistics of collection of identifying information, which is page 160. And all that, everything is zero. I'm wondering, does that mean we have not started to collect these race-based information in 2021, and this is the plan going forward?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer, or at least start to answer that. And I know Mr. Fraser's online here as well, but when it comes to collection of identifying information, Ms. Fang, there was legislation that was brought in several years ago about, and if you remember it, I'll just term it street checks or carding, as it was referred to. When the new legislation came in and the stringent restrictions around or confinements around how officers were interacting with people at the roadside, it pretty much brought those numbers down to zero. We may or may not have one or two a year, and they get vetted to make sure that the information is in compliance with that legislation. So you're quite right. We rarely do have any street checks. Random street checks is what I'm talking about in our system anymore. And this is the result of the legislation that was brought in several years ago. So that's my one comment on that in that area, unless Jason has anything further to add. The other piece I will mention is around the vision and mission. It is on our radar. It's been discussed here as well. That is, we did our values already within the last couple of years. Those are brand new. There is we do agree that there's a need to refresh our vision and mission, and we're happy to participate and develop that new mission and vision for YRP and the board as we move forward. So those are my comments, unless you need any clarification on the other piece.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I just want to clarify my comment on the identifying information collection. Perhaps I misunderstood. When I read this, I thought about Toronto Police Board's race-based information collection, and the chief made a public statement recently. So I thought that's a practice that we are also doing, which is, so maybe I'm confused. Am I looking at the right information and comparing?
Yeah, I think the information in the report is different than the information you're referring to. The information you're referring to is the race-based data collection as it relates to use of force and strip searches, is what was the report related to Toronto. What we're talking about in here in our annual report isn't that. It's more related to our carding or street checks is what it's actually called. So two different things. Still collecting information, but for different reasons, I'll say. So yeah, the Toronto information is very specific to use of force, at least as it just like we have done in the past here for the board this past April. So
Okay, thank you for a clarification.
Any further questions, comments from anybody? Well, now we'll go back to our regular scheduled programming where Mr. Purcell and Fang were moving and seconding this board's receipt of this report for information. That was a 2021 York Regional Police Annual Report. Any opposition to that? I see no opposition. The motion carries. Now we have, so we're done with those items. Now we got to go to unfinished business. I think that Mafalda, you're going to give a brief report on this, and then we'll go to 11.1, which is the YRP photo book to commemorate the 50th anniversary of York Regional Police. Okay, Mafalda, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be giving just a very brief update on this, and I know Mr. Purcell would like to add as well to this item. So the board committee's report is very close to completion. It's certainly not a report we want to rush. We want to get the recommendations right, and we want to make sure that we consult with stakeholders and the board, they will have an opportunity to review the report and provide their feedback as well. And at some point over the next couple of weeks, we will reach out to set up a special meeting of the board to present this, to present the report to the board at that time.
Okay, Mr. Purcell.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to take this opportunity to both recognize and thank the extraordinary members of the Anti-Black Racism and Building Trust Committee for their unreserved commitment of time, for the benefits that we have realized through their understanding of these issues by way of their own longstanding engagement and advocacy for meaningful responses, for the insights offered to us through their own lived experience, and perhaps most importantly, to the voice they have given by way of eloquence and passion to these issues as they will be reflected in the report that will be submitted for consideration shortly. As you know, this subcommittee was constituted as a response to the concerns raised to this board by a number of officers who brought to our attention not only their own concerns, but also serious concerns that have affected our service. The subcommittee, whose members include our colleague, Ms. Norma McCullough, Ms. Jerisa Grant Hall, Mr. Gary Thompson, Inspector Colin Alexander, and retired Superintendent Chris Bullen, who were so well supported by our Executive Director, Mafalda Avellino, with additional support from Jacqueline Cogan, and whose work will soon be reflected through the document to be submitted by our subject matter expert, Professor Akwasi Owusu-Bempeh, have together offered what I believe to be invaluable contributions to both our challenges and our intent to address change. Clearly, what must follow the submission of this report is not only a document submitted, but an ongoing and timely commitment to address the issues raised and responses proposed, to follow in a context of ongoing transparency and accountability to the stakeholders, and with a view to making us the template for change in Canadian policing.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Purcell, thank you and your team for the work you put in. This is a very important issue, as you know, and you guys are doing a stellar job. And I know that the chief and the team is paying attention to the work you're doing, and it's first and foremost in their mind. So this is a good thing. What about who's going to? I need just a motion to receive verbal update. Chair, would you like to do that for me? And Mayor Pellegrini, please. Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. Chief, now it's 11.1. Go ahead. Let's talk about 50 years of York Regional Police.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very proud of the work that our entire team has done. You'll see Manager of Corporate Communications is on here, Kathleen Griffin. Kathleen led the team through about 2 years of research. And I just want to start by saying, first off, I hope you all got your book and you're enjoying seeing what 50 years of policing looks like here in York Region, or has looked like in the past. None of this can be achieved without a supportive board and a collaborative relationship between police and its police services board. So let me start by saying that. And I just wanted to highlight a few areas of this book and let you know what we're doing with the proceeds. So as you can see, the book is 248 pages filled with historic images recovered from our own archives from personal collections of members past and present, all restored in vivid detail by Mike Baston, our graphic designer and photographer in corporate communications. 2 years of research conducted by Mike and strategic communication specialist Billy Curtis included the review of hundreds of historic newspaper editions, magazines, organizational reports, and interviews with retired and current members, including our YRP Historical Committee. The research is definitely reflected in the accompanying stories written primarily by both Billy with some assistance from our corporate communications staff. So I want to commend the work of those two members who spearheaded the project, but also commend the work of our entire corporate communications team, who have put what I think is a stellar product out there. And what I will say is that all proceeds from the sales of this book are going to two charities of choice for YRP, which is one is Special Olympics Ontario and the other is United Way. And so far we've sold about 400 books, and we're hoping to sell up to about 1,500. More is better, which would result in a donation of more than $50,000 for our charity. So really proud of the work that they've done, and really proud of the fact that this book is selling very well and that we were able to provide a copy to the board. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And, it's great to see that history is intersecting with generosity and also gratitude. That's very important. 50 years is a long time. 50 years, it's kind of like I'm beginning to notice, I don't know, Chief, if you feel the same way, but when 50th anniversaries are kind of younger than we are, it's kind of interesting feeling. Okay, well, thanks again. And I don't know what we can add, but I know that members of the board are extremely proud of what you've been able to achieve over the past 50 years. It's 50 years, relatively speaking, not a long time. We're a very young organization, but when you look at, and I know Chairman Emerson and also Mayor Pellegrini would take note of, 50 years ago, York Region was nothing like it is today, right? And as board members, we're very mindful of how you and your team need to adjust the sails as the winds change during these 50 years. And it's not an easy task, and it's not lost on us that it requires a lot of work. It requires diligence, perseverance, tenacity, determination. It requires great values to keep an organization like ours in the great shape that it is today. And so, like I often tell people when we are, looking at a book that's celebrating 50th anniversary, it's so easy, really, because we're all kind of busy people, right? It's so easy to not take time to kind of reflect on the book, to actually be present in the moment. As you leaf through those pages, that's history. That's there's a lot of stories behind these individuals, a lot of stories behind the transformation. And I do think that it's very important to take that half hour to an hour to really connect with the history that we're really part of as well as individuals, right? And every resident in over 1.2 million people that reside in York Region today have a connection with that, because this is the same force that provides protection, that is there to deal with race relations, that is out there in schools, out there in the community, making sure that people feel safe. And not only do they feel safe, they are safe because we have one of the best records in North America. And so I do think that when you're looking at this book, when you're observing all the pictures and everything in the book, please take the time. And I encourage also residents that may be listening to us today to access this book one way or another, and to really pay tribute to this incredible organization that has transformed itself to meet the modern day challenges that we all face every day. So I wanted to simply say, Chief, to you and your team, thank you so much. And thank you also for capturing the essence of 50 years. It's a wonderful feeling, and it warms my heart to see that we've been able to build an organization that is really world-class. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to all members of the board for the support, and thanks to the entire team here, including all of our ECT, for the support to get this book to where it is today, and knowing that it's to your point, Mr. Chair, the money is going right back to where it belongs and into community as well. So thank you.
Any comments, Ms. Fang? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mauricio. Thank you, Jim, on this happy note of congratulating 50 years of excellent services of YRP. I think it's also timely to congratulate Jim and Robertson for their being awarded the Order of Merit for police servicing in Canada. That's like called to the Hall of Fame, right? So congratulations, Jim and Robertson.
Yes, congratulations as well.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so now we'll go to the private meeting. Mafalda, we're ready?